Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today I've got Sam Harris on the show. Sam, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just adjusting my microphone.
I can hear you great.
True expert going on. Oh, dear.
Oh, I've done that plenty of times. Wait, is it going through the webcam audio or my podcast mic? And you are the co-founder and CEO of Syncify FM, a social podcast app. You've climbed some of the world's most dangerous mountains. That's awesome. You visited North Korea and you've nearly died a few times. You're a TEDx speaker, stand-up comedian, podcaster, and you're full of ideas and creativity. And today we're going to be diving into mindset, fun, psychology, all kinds of different things, your story. So welcome, Sam, once again. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks. I had an awful night's sleep. I literally slept for like 3 hours. I don't know what went wrong, but then the day's been great. And normally that's not how it works. I'm not sure. I might fail halfway through this interview massively, but we'll see.
Yeah, don't pass out on me. But if you do, I mean...
that would be an interesting moment for the interview. It's like, has he nearly died again? What's going on?
Yeah. No, I've always wondered what happens. Like if I were to die or someone broke into my house or something, like you don't know where I live really. And like, how would you tell someone? I guess you just log out of the interview. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad to have you here.
Looks like you're busy right now. Oh, well, take it easy, Chris.
So tell me about your story, man. Like, how did you get started? I know, how long have you been doing what you've been doing and what did you do before? I always love to hear like the origin story of like what led you on this path.
Okay. Backwards. So I'm currently running Syncify FM, which is a mobile app that lets you listen to podcasts with your friends. It's a social network where you can see what your friends are listening to. You can comment on them. You can tag them in episodes. You can meet other podcasters and talk to them about their podcast. Or if you're running a podcast, you can like meet up and like schedule interviews together and things. And you can tag your guests and stuff. So just a place where you can actually not be sort of disconnected and alone because I've just got really frustrated listening to podcasts that I'm just in this world completely by myself. I don't know what my friends are doing and things. And like, I didn't enjoy social media that much, where you're just constantly talking about yourself and you feeling performing and things. And it's nice to be able to update people what you're doing, but like, it's a bit annoying and not very you or me, whatever you want to say. Whereas like when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm just doing what I'm interested in. And I like talking about what I'm interested in, which is why I run a podcast. And so why, when I'm listening to things, can I not talk about the things that interest me as I'm doing it? And so it just seemed like a natural thing to start building. That's where I'm at currently. And the reason I started that was because I was running a podcast. Over the past 4 years, I've run the Growth Mindset podcast, where I've been interviewing cool people. And so you're going to be on my show. And
excited about that. Hopefully I'm cool enough.
Yeah, you're making the grade so far. Sense of humor, at least. I've listened to some of your episodes. I was enjoying them. So certainly have a lot of good things to think and say. So
yeah, that's how I prepare for my shows as well. I was listening to a couple of yours this morning while I was like cooking up my eggs and bacon and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. It's good to hear. But yeah, so I was running that for a while and then just was finding different problems in podcasting that I wanted to solve. Started working on like an editor, kind of like the script, where you can sort of read the transcript and like delete things and stuff, but then the script came out and they had lots of funding and stuff, and so I stopped on that. Did other stuff for a while, but then kept on coming back to different problems in podcasting. And I also started a new podcast last year called the Wiser Than Yesterday podcast, where I read a book a week with a friend, and I just got so much out of having a reason to talk to someone about the things that I'm reading and like engaging in. And you just learn so much more when you have to put the things you learn about into your own words and explain them. And you also learn from someone else's point of view. And it's just like, it just seems really stupid to read or listen to things by myself now without having some kind of engagement around it. Yeah.
One thing that I heard is that when you teach, you learn twice, because you have to learn it so well that you're able to actually put it into words, which is, like you said, that's the hard part. Otherwise, you might just read it and forget about what you absorbed versus talking to somebody about it. I love that idea. And that also holds you to that standard of, oh, hey, we got to finish reading this book. You know, the week's almost up. What are we going to talk about?
Definitely. We've read some challenging books that like I would have given up on after the first chapter or two. And actually having finished it, you're like, whoa, that was actually really good. I'm glad I did that. So that's been nice. But yeah, so that was one of the other reasons why I started the podcast, the app.
New podcast.
And
the app.
in general, going backwards from that, I did some time off traveling. I had some other startups that went well, some that failed. I had a career break to do music production for a bit. And my first startup, going all the way back, was when I was 20. I did like a logistics company whilst I was at uni. I like delivering stuff using like bicycles and things. It was all green between offices and stuff. I did a lot of like food trade between restaurants and things. And then we started going into like the Deliveroo style things. This was like a few years before Deliveroo existed. Right. And that kind of went too well to the point where I actually had to stop it because I was going to fail my degree and I was too busy. And I didn't really know how to like manage things. And there was no tech involved. It was me just taking calls and stuff. And I was just causing a cluster of mayhem. And so if I had like known a bit more about like how to run a business, like maybe it would have gone much better. But I managed to run it okay for a few years and then sell it, which is nice. But not exactly the $1 billion exit that I would have had if I turned into the Deliveroo. But, you know, all learning. So that's like the last 10 years, briefly.
Very cool. And so how long did you spend traveling? I know you said you visited some of the world's most dangerous mountains. You visited North Korea as well. Did you spend like a year just overseas and hopping around, or?
Yes, but kind of lots of hopping around as well. So I've always liked traveling. I was pretty lucky when I was 1, my parents emigrated to Australia for a year, and then like we came back via quite a lot of things. And then I think when I was 12 or 13, I went to Spain by myself for like a Spanish camp, which definitely got me into like exploring by myself. Then, when I was 18, I had like a gap year for a year. So I cycled the length of Britain. I went around Europe, South America, sailed around the Caribbean. I got like a job working on yachts and stuff. Yeah, that was really cool. Like that was actually a bit of an accident. I found some guy that just wanted some help who was like a surfer and stuff, like running his boat online, and went out to meet him with a one-way ticket, and turned out he was a right dick and was really abusive and had to run away after a week. And I was just in the Caribbean. I had no clue what I was doing and was like, I'm just not going to call my mum and it's going to be fine. And
just stay out here and enjoy it.
Yeah, it was great. Ended up earning so much more money than I was earning before, like in an office job trying to pay to go for traveling. And it was really stupid that I'd not like bitten the bullet and gone out earlier. So that like definitely set me up for doing more traveling before I'd even started my businesses as such. And then once I had started them, I always had like that wanderlust to try and have some adventure. And I did see a therapist for a while. I wasn't depressed as such, but more just like thinking about my life. It was really nice. I got like, BetterHelp.
I've heard of BetterHelp. I haven't actually checked it out yet, but I have heard good things. If you can get them to sponsor your podcast, they seem to be sponsoring everyone. They give you 3 months for free. I heard them on another podcast.
I got a free therapy for 3 months, and it was really nice. But like,
that's nice.
She diagnosed me of having like an issue of needing a good amount of stress and adventure in my life, and otherwise, like some bad things happen. So it's been nice to like realize that and embrace it a bit more. Be like, actually, Mum, I need to go and do something really stupid for a while, just because otherwise I might do something more reckless. So.
Yeah, I have like a therapist / life coach, and I'm actually meeting with her tomorrow. I meet with her every 2 weeks, and same thing. Yeah. She made me take this Enneagram personality test, and I don't know if you've taken that, but basically I'm a 7 on there. And what that is someone who's always looking for more. The grass is greener on the other side. You do something that you wanted to do, but now you're looking at your next trip. So I can kind of resonate with what you said. Like if I'm sitting idle, I get very bored and antsy. Like I'm looking up things with my girlfriend to do now that we just moved to Colorado. Like I mentioned to you, I'm like, we need to go dirt biking. Like I want to coach. I want to learn how to like ride up in the mountains and stuff. And she's like, what about 4-wheelers? That sounds safer. And I'm like, I want to do the fun stuff, you know?
Yeah. I just like being outside of my comfort zone. Like
that's where the growth happens.
Yeah. I kind of like throwing myself into the deep end of things and being like, panic, I'll work it out somehow, as opposed to, well, I'll take the first step and see how it goes. And then I'll do which would be sensible. So on some things I have to like rein it back a bit.
I feel you on that. And I think that's more fun to live that way, because when you get used to throwing yourself into these situations, I guess to an extent, don't do it where you die, of course. Like I know you said you had a few near-death experiences, and some people have. I guess I've seen people who have done too many crazy things and like they accidentally die doing something, right?
Lines, like I've got a bunch of friends, I think. Well, I got a friend who started doing the kite. When you do like, so the base jumping, but you got like a bodysuit, like winging, wing gliding. He did that with a group of 5, and then they started learning, and Three of them have
doing
died.
Crazy things, right?
2 of them have had like ended up in hospital.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's not good statistics. I'm probably not going to do that one, although I really want to.
Or even like skydiving is way safer than base jumping, where people jump off of a bridge and then they have like 3 seconds for their parachute to open. I'm just thinking of a guy who's about my age.
Might not quite like catch the thing to like pull out something. I'm just like,
like the statistics are way worse, but there are people who still do it. But I guess the good thing is at least they went out doing something they loved. They knew the risks, they accepted it, and they were willing to take that, which I think they lived a life fuller than a lot of people who maybe make it to 80 or 90, but they're playing it safe and they never get to do half of the fun things that they want to do, you know?
Definitely. Yes. And 2 times I nearly died. One was skiing, one was kite surfing. And at the time I was pretty content. I was like, pretty happy to die. I was like, well, I'm having a nice day.
The adrenaline rush.
Like beating myself up about it as I'm about to die. But then in hindsight,
kite surfing, did you just like go in a hurricane and like fly too high or something?
It was really windy and I was like a beginner. And so it was the second time I'd actually managed to stand up on the board, right? And the board flipped out from under my right foot. I was riding and like it just flipped super fast into my knee as I fell into it. And I don't know how, but like it just sort of cracked my my femur completely. Oh, and I just had this big bang. And you know when you like stub your toe or something, and you're like, I think I've done something bad, but you don't know what it is, and you have like 2 seconds before the pain hits.
Like broke your leg.
I was like, I've heard this big noise. Something's probably wrong. I looked at my leg, and it was just like waving around in the water. I was like, what the shit? That's not real. 2 seconds later, poof! Oh my god, I'm gonna die. That's real. Oh
because crap! You're trying to swim and your leg's broken.
Yeah. It was just well,
I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, I was really lucky.
Gosh, that's terrifying. Knock on wood, I have not broken anything yet, at least not that I know of. Nice. So I have done some risky things, but I haven't broken anything.
Cool. Yeah, I got to like 26 without breaking anything, and then I seem to be storing it all up for the last few years.
So it sounds like you've been living a pretty fun life. I mean, where are you based out of currently?
I am literally just moving from Canterbury near London to Cornwall, which is the more fun part of the UK. We're in the south where there's like surf and it's a sunny, beautiful part. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, you said you're literally moving this weekend, right?
Yeah.
It's always fun. I think change is good. It keeps you on your toes and, you know, like you're looking for the next adventure.
Definitely. So it's going to be interesting to see but with the change over COVID of stuff coming so much more remote, we're like, do I need to be near London? Like probably I don't have to go and see investors every time I want a meeting ever again. So what's the point of actually being somewhere where it's not as fun as where I like being? So
that's the same reason that I just moved here, because I mean, and I'm in something that's more physical, like real estate that I'm doing in another state. And so I'm still closing transactions, and most of the calls, like people don't even know that I've moved. I haven't really told anyone. So they're like, hey, can we go look at these houses on Saturday? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to set you up with Alex. She's going to show you those houses. And no one really questions, why isn't it you? Like, where are you at? Are you going to be there on Saturday? I'm like, no, this is my assistant. She's going to be there to show you. And just like you mentioned, I think everything that's happened over the last year, I guess over a year now with the COVID stuff, like everyone's gone to Zoom, everyone's gone virtual. Nearly everything can be done online. I mean, I guess you can never replace the face-to-face completely, but I'm looking at you right now. You're looking at me through the Zoom camera. This is pretty close, right?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's not as nice as in when I can record things in person. It's always great, and I'll put in a bit of extra effort. Like it's worth me doing a 1 hour commute to actually meet someone, but
get a coffee
or
me like meet
living
their
in
office.
London permanently just to meet people when
you'll
call most of them. And if I'm going to be visiting every few months, I can like schedule those people, I guess.
Exactly. It's cool. And I think the thing that's fun about it is like you'll figure out what breaks, like what things fall apart when you move, and is there anything you actually have to be there for, or somebody? It doesn't necessarily have to be you.
Yes. I mean, it was quite hard. Over last month, we almost went through a big pivot with the company, but then didn't. But we had a whole month of going in different directions and things. And as a team, we were all in completely different places. And so we'd have like 1 or 2 hours worth of meetings, maybe 3, but then we sort of go and do different things when realistically, we just needed to have like 3 days just in a room together, just like chatting, like what we thought and just going through stuff, which you just kind of can't do when people have got like other things on their agenda and other stuff. And like, it's just,
That's where it gets hard for sure. And I mean, I've been kind of the solopreneur. I don't really have much of a team, a few assistants. So that's one thing that I do miss is having a team dynamic, 5 people that are meeting and you're grinding it out till 10 p.m. like on a problem, writing on the whiteboard. Usually I'm like,
grass is always greener. I'm here and I'm like, oh, I remember those days when I was like just the solo over there.
That's true. And everything was just like, I just
thought it happened. And it's nice knowing that like if something doesn't happen, it's your fault. And so you just have to do it. Whereas you kind of think, oh, maybe someone else should have been doing that. But then
it's easier to finger point when you've got a team like, oh, that was that person's responsibility. Whereas when you're the solopreneur, it's like, gosh, I didn't make that much money this month. That's on me because it is just me. And if you did great, then you can also pat yourself on the back, I guess, or, to that extent. But what you said there is super powerful, though, that if you were to just have gotten together for 3 days or something and knocked it all out, that would probably make a lot of impact save you a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I know is still a little different now, but I guess maybe even a Zoom conference, if you were to all get on a Zoom call for 3 days, like 4 hours each day, and just knock it out, right?
Yeah. It's just hard to like make stuff do that. It's funny as if you're sort of there in person, it's like, it's just nothing else that was on your calendar would have happened, but because you've already got it's just kind of weird.
If you're on Zoom, it's easier to just be like, oh, I have a call in 5 minutes. I need to sign out early, and then just jump on another call.
There's just, also like just the social side of it. Like in the evening, you have dinner together, you have lunch together, you can hang out on that stuff. But like one of my co-founders is great, but he's got like sort of mild ADHD and he likes to be quite quick with things. He doesn't like being in meetings. He's always looking to like how to end it and be fast.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, we just need to sit around and do nothing for like a whole day other than talk shit. And he sort of wants like a end thing. And so it does sort of like make it a bit hard to like, sit around and just talk about problems for the whole time because you do feel like you're going nowhere.
Right.
But
so there's pros and cons.
It's more of the general environment rather than just his needs as such. But it's weird. Gosh.
So what does your week look like right now? Like how involved are you in the business? Like what kind of activities do you mainly do?
Question. So I still do some stuff with my other podcasts. So I'll have like 1 or 2 hours of recording a week, but that's nothing much. And I'm trying to combine that into what I'm doing with Syncify anyway. So for the book one, I'm trying to read books that are relevant to make me a better entrepreneur and that kind of stuff. For growth mindset, and trying to interview people that are relevant. So like hosts like you or something who maybe get things out of the app or people that would be useful. So it's still kind of work. Then otherwise it's like, okay, Monday, planning the week, sprint planning with the devs, that kind of stuff. Update like midweek on things. Then sort of Friday, okay, what did we release? What have we learned from this week? What have we tried? And then like lots of talking to users, kind of monthly investor updates, trying to report on what our KPIs were or weren't. And trying to learn how to be a good CEO and things. Because we've been reflecting on like what happened last quarter and we felt like, okay, we've been a bit reactive and not done things half as organized as what I just made it sound like. And how am I going to actually make myself operate like someone who actually knows what they're doing as a CEO and thinking about those things and kind of learning. So I guess like, cool. As I said earlier, I'd like throw myself in the deep end of stuff that I'm maybe not brilliantly good at and learning. So I guess that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And like I said earlier too, I mean, that's what I've heard is that the growth happens in that zone. Even if you're working out, if you're not really feeling your muscles burn, you're probably not working out to the fullest extent.
Definitely.
Once you feel like, oh my gosh, my arm is twitching, you probably did a pretty good workout and you're going to actually see the growth and results after that. So what's one of your favorite books that you've read recently? One of the ones that you think has made the most impact for you in your business or mindset?
Just finished The Hobbit. That was really nice.
That's in my Amazon cart right now, The Hobbit. I'm trying to find more non-business books too.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice. Another non-business book that actually sort of helped anyway, although it seems completely unrelated. It was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Allerton. And
okay, I'll write that down.
The reason I've recommended it to a few of my friends who are guys who also been like, this was amazing, even though it's something I've never normally read. Like, and it's like someone who's about our age, but a woman. But it's like her diary from when she was like a 10-year-old up to now. and everything she learns like each year about love around chasing boys and different things. But it's really nostalgic around like going through the MSN phase and talking to people there, and then like the changes is where you go to uni and then like online dating and stuff. And it's just really funny to see it from a girl's perspective, and just all the things she learns about life as she goes along and the different guys that she meets and how and stuff. So I just find it very fascinating to kind of get the complete opposite view of things.
Interesting.
And she's just a really good writer as well. You know, when people it's just really enjoyable reading what they're saying, and it's just very beautiful. And if you're looking for quotes to put onto social media, like literally every page you'd have like a quote to like put on, kind of thing. So it's awesome. Just a really nice book and insightful about life and things.
Cool. Everything I Know About Love. Is that what you said it was called?
Yeah, Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Allerton, I think. And trying to start like a social media business and things, and so trying to understand like relationships and social behaviors and that kind of stuff is still useful. So going like quite diverse on what I'm reading. We did like a business books series, and just trying to work out what was the best book out of them.
No pressure. I mean, there's so many good ones, and I have 5 that I just ordered that I haven't read through yet. It's just, you know, you got to read them one at a time, or I guess a few at a time.
Have you read the Taleb series?
I don't think I have. No.
The Inserto series, it's called, by Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
Oh no, I've heard of Nassim.
Yeah, Nassim
Taleb.
Okay, so his Inserto series, it's a bit hard going, but it was easily the best thing as a series that we read on business and like how the world works. And so like Anti-Fragile would probably be the best book.
Yes, I've heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah, that one was really good.
Awesome.
And certainly I felt like reflected a lot of like how I felt within myself, like the times I've nearly died, I've really pushed myself to go further afterwards and things. And very doing cool. The stuff that sort of knocks you back initially, you know, taking the hits, you can come back so much stronger and stuff. And
right, just kind of pushing the boundaries to see what you're capable of.
Definitely. It sort of definitely inspires me to go even further with like going off the deep end kind of thing. And I used to be super scared of like public speaking and talking and things, and then like last year I got into stand-up comedy, and it was even trying to think that I would do that a few years ago, like my brain would just not have computed that. It's like two things that do not go together, me and stand-up comedy. And then like I just like threw myself into it, did a course where I spent lots of time being unfunny and in front of people and feeling like I wanted to die, but I didn't die and it was fine. And you just carry on, you try another joke, and some people laugh at different things, and then you kind of get there, and it's nice. You can come out with so much stronger and confident and being like, hey, it doesn't matter if I'm not always funny. I can just sort of make a joke about how not funny I just was, and then people laugh, and then I'll like try a different joke and stuff, and it's pretty cool. So anyway, that book was great. Anti-Fragile.
Cool. Thank you for the recommendations. I wrote them down here, and I'm sure the listeners will probably be like looking these up on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, wherever they buy books. But I was actually just listening to a podcast earlier today, and the host was mentioning that same thing. And I guess he was saying that he didn't know how to swim. As embarrassing as it sounded, he wasn't really a swimmer. He never really grew up doing it. And so he was kind of afraid of it. But then he started to watch YouTube videos and finding people who had, maybe they nearly drowned and they didn't know how to swim. And he saw their stories of learning how to swim. And if anyone else has ever done it, that gives us the understanding that we can do it too, right? It's possible to learn, to grow. I mean, David Goggins, I feel like, has been a huge inspiration for many people, because I'm like, geez, half of the things I would cry about or complain about, I can't anymore, you know?
Yeah.
This guy's running on broken feet, taping up his legs.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
But it has inspired me. I'm doing an ultra marathon next month as well.
Whoa.
Of that book.
Is that 100 miles? I guess how many kilometers is that?
Ultra marathon is basically anything over 50 kilometers to be deemed one. But the one I'm doing is basically 2 marathons back to back. Okay. Through a bunch of hills.
Nice.
Where I used to live, which is nice.
That'll be fun. Forward.
Yeah.
For sure. So you're constantly challenging yourself.
Yeah. I like to have some form of physical challenge and something difficult going on. I get pretty bored if I know. I guess it's something I've always found is that if I know that I can do something, I'm already not that interested in proving to other people that I can do it, because I already know it doesn't really matter.
That's how I feel with like, I haven't done 75 hard, but I'm like, I could do that. Like, I already know. I don't miss my workouts. I drink a gallon of water a day. If you've heard of that challenge, So I don't know why I'm just not doing it, but I feel like what you just said there, I don't feel like I need to prove it because I already know I can do it. I've done harder things, I feel. I don't know.
Yeah.
All my 75 hard friends are going to give me crap and make fun of me and be like, no, it doesn't count unless you did it. But I really resonated with what you just said there. But I guess I kind of am in that space where I'm getting kind of bored. If you've seen that Pablo Escobar meme of him being lonely and just like standing alone and sitting alone, like I've been very bored. How do you give yourself activities or things to do for fun? Like, do you do a fun thing every week or once a month? I'm kind of asking selfishly for myself because I have so much time right now that I'm like,
oh, nice.
What can I do?
It depends. I mean, during lockdown, before I got too busy with my business, I actually did a thing called a few years ago, I ran a thing called Thrill Seekers Adventure Club, which is like, we'd go and do like kitesurfing holidays or skiing holidays together. And
sweet.
Like I'd book like a chalet or something, and that was great. But I stopped it to do other stuff and because I got bored of looking after people and their problems. Yes. But I started running it again during lockdown, but like the inverse of it is in like, instead of going outside, you can go inside. And so I'd be like, okay, let's try and do a Rubik's Cube this week, or do like a stupid challenge where I do like, the Moby Flower Sally Up, Sally Down press up challenge.
No, I'm Googling it.
So
Moby Flower,
the song that's like bring Sally up, bring Sally down, and then some other words, and it just repeats endlessly. When they say up, you just have to push up. When they say down, you go down. And it just goes on for like really long time, and it like hurts. And I just did that every hour on the hour for a whole week, just because. Just like see what happened.
Why not?
It just became this like weird like mantra every hour. I'd just be in a different part of the house. People would be walking over me and stuff, and like, Sam, what are you doing? And yeah, just like random stuff I did for like a few months, but then I got too busy now, so I'm not doing that as such. But that was quite nice as a way to entertain myself, just like different challenges. One thing I ate porridge every meal every day for a week. I did another one where I just did like a 5-ingredient meal dinner every night for my whole family. So I was only allowed to use 5 ingredients to cook a whole meal, and just like random challenges was fun when I had the time.
Cool. I'm gonna write that down. That might be a good idea for me to just create random challenges.
Yeah. To just kind of do for a week to entertain yourself. One thing I quite wanted to do, but didn't have time, was if I had been in lockdown longer, was to like theme each week. So one week you just be like, pretend you go to China, and you'd have to like cook a different Chinese meal and wear Chinese clothes or something for the whole week. And I thought that would like really like give you some memories for the year, whereas just sort of going in, day out with like the same different things and stuff. But I was getting a bit repetitive, but I didn't have time to implement that. But in terms of, I like to have something booked, like a marathon, or climbing a mountain with a friend, or going
like once a month or something for the frequency.
No, like every sort of 3 months, maybe like once a quarter, to try and do something like that. And it's now that I'm running my business, it's a bit harder, but generally when I was doing other things, like I like to split my projects into 3 months. So like I'd go like really hard on the podcast for 3 months, and then I'd sort of put that on the back burner, and like I'd still kind of doing it, but like I'd be really hard on something else. So maybe I'd like a friend running a really cool business, I just work for him for free for 3 months just because it looked really bloody interesting or something, that kind of stuff. So like I've never really had jobs as such for a job. I've just done things that interest me, which has been really lucky because my first business went okay, and like it's easier to not need to do that stuff. I mean, I'm hardly like that rich, but But
your lifestyle though, you have the, that's what they talk about as the new rich. I probably said this a lot in the 4-hour work week. Like I've been talking about it a lot because I'm rereading it and I'm like, oh my gosh, these things that I read 4 years ago, I've done most of them. Like I'm doing stuff remotely. I've removed myself. I'm not a cog in the machine. Like I have a machine that I'm looking over, for example. The new rich is a term that he talks about, which we value more of the time, flexibility, and freedom more than just the money. Because if you're making a bunch of money and you're working 80 hours a week, what's the point, right?
Well, I was saying that as in that sense, I would guess I would class myself as rich. Like you can't pay me to do something.
I love that.
I just do things that I want to do, and that's nice. And try and align so sometimes some of them pay me and then it works out. I was cutting you off there, so you can carry on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I love what you said earlier in the story about how you did some work like on a yacht or whatever. Like you just decided to go and find something that seemed interesting to you, and you were able to get paid for it more than you were at a previous job that you weren't, or like at your previous thing that you were focusing on. So that's a cool example of like something most people would never think to do. Like, oh, I can't work there. Let me just work more so I have money for vacation. Whereas you made the work and vacation, like you tied them together, like the travel and everything.
Well, I only worked that out once I got there. I didn't realize at the time. I kicked myself for spending 3 months in a crappy like office job scanning documents for a medical firm and stuff in Britain, when I could have been just sailing around the Caribbean having fun and earning more money tax free.
That's insane,
I was like, what have I done with my life? But yeah, at that point I was like, do I need to go to university? I mean, if ultimately everything goes to plan and I end up being a millionaire, I can eventually buy a yacht and sail around the Caribbean, but like I have to pay for the entire thing and I have the stress of it going wrong. Whereas now, like I'm already doing the thing that I want to do, but like I have no problems with it. So it seemed a bit of a funny equation of what I put myself into, but I don't know why I still went to uni and started businesses and things. But
yeah. So, I mean, that's also a nugget, like what you said there. I mean, because I'm not really rich by any stretch of the imagination either in terms of money. I mean, I track my net worth and the line's going up, but it's like nowhere near where I want to be and I know I can be. But at the same time, it's going in the right direction. And like I just told you, I have the problem of having so much free time because like I have deals in the pipeline. I'm making money. I had a record quarter and like I'm making more money by working less, which doesn't sound, it's counterintuitive. But and I have this time freedom that like other people, we have the flexibility. I could say no to anything or anyone. If it doesn't sound good to me or interesting, like, no, I don't want to get lunch at that place. Nah, I'm not interested in that event. Right. That's a powerful thing that a lot of people, if their boss tells them to do something, they can't just say no.
Definitely. And I think when you're working on time, you sort of limit yourself to what you can achieve. And so from when I was 16 to 24, I managed to double my money every year just through like working harder and like sheer force of will. But it was at 24, I was like, okay, I kind of hit my targets for like where I want to be by 25, but like I just took the year off and did music production, and then like I haven't really got that much richer since. Like actually, probably about 50% more, but which is a lot less than doubling every year. But I was like, okay, I'm kind of just not enjoying working just for money, and figured that I'd rather do things that interest me and businesses that like maybe fail, but really huge upside and do something that I actually want to change in the world.
Right.
And I think so, yeah, maybe there's a few years where it doesn't grow quite as much as it could do, but I'm learning lots and I'm feeling like I'm investing in like bigger skills where I could get that curve back in track with it, but just through like much bigger events rather than just through like trading my time for stuff, because that didn't seem very sustainable anyway.
I love that. I think you were talking about that on one of your recent interviews. It was it All Plants, the plants guy? And I was listening to that one that went live most recently. And that guy said the same thing. Like he was more interested in creating a business he was passionate about a problem that he found interesting. And that's why he's like, I've dedicated at least, the next decade of my life. You have to, that's where I'm struggling too. Like, I don't know if what I do now is like what I could see myself doing 10 years from now. So I think I'm trying to get in more alignment like you are, finding an interesting challenge, an interesting problem where even if I'm not making money, I can commit and go all in and be like, this is my life's work. Because right now I'm kind of like, I'm making money, but is it my life's work? I don't know. So
yeah, definitely.
It's very powerful what you just said there of just like, you'd rather do stuff that's more interesting and maybe it's not going to pay you the most now, but the potential payoff could be very high.
And certainly as you're doing it, you're earning lots in terms of you're meeting cool people, you're learning lots of skills and stuff, and like my network's growing, lots of people who could invest in me. And
exactly,
like, all my friends are like friends that do cool things. And so even if I don't succeed in 5 years time, I'm going to have probably quite a few friends who are like millionaires, and hopefully they'll fund my businesses kind of thing. Think about it, which is nice. And yeah, it has been really interesting just over the last 20 years, the people that I've met that have then gone on to do such cool stuff. And I just don't take people at surface value anymore. You can just see so much potential, which is really nice.
That's so true. Because a lot of us, I mean, we kind of judge a book by its cover at times. You may see someone and you're like, oh, that person, they don't have a job, like they're lazy. And then you find out they actually have a business and like, oh, they just rolled up in this nice, like, I don't know, Audi or Porsche or whatever. And they actually are successful business owners and they don't have a job because they own businesses. And so I've been like what you just said there. it's something we all need to do, all my listeners as well. Like really make sure not to judge a book by its cover, because you never know what someone else is capable of or what they've done and accomplished.
Definitely. It's always nice to just help anyone. Whenever I just always take people seriously, which is something I've always done with like kids even. Guess I got pissed off as a kid not being taken seriously. So it's just one thing. Like whenever a kid tries to have a serious conversation with me, I'll always be like serious back. Like, yeah, I'm sure you can do that. That's great. Right. It's nice. So
I'm just keeping an eye on my cat over here. She's looking like she wants to jump up on here and knock everything over. So I'm like, don't do it, kitty. I'm petting her.
Hey,
but that's so true. I mean, don't kill a kid's dreams, because that kid could be the next, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. You really never know. And what you say in a formative, their formative mind, you really don't want to like kill that kid's dreams by telling them like, oh, that's not possible. Or yeah, you're probably not going to be able to do that. It's really, really unlikely, because putting a man on the moon or creating electric cars, all these things that were once impossible have actually happened.
It's trying to find the right line of teaching people that they can do anything, but they can't do everything. So they can't be greedy of like, okay, you're going to do like everything, but like being practical. And I mean, you also meet some people that just think they're just going to be rich or like marry a billionaire or something. And you're like, well,
what's the plan?
Better things to aspire to, like perhaps. But yeah, otherwise definitely is trying to like get them like a grounded reality of, okay, pretty much everything is possible. Just like think about it logically. And
I talked to someone, I interviewed someone a week or two ago, and he was like, at the end, after we hit stop record, he's like, Chris, can I tell you something, brother? And I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, you're playing small. Like he's trying to give me some good positive coaching. And I'm like, I know, like I'm trying to get more motivated. I'm kind of bored. I'm at this place where I'm like content a little bit. Like I'm comfortable. I'm making more money than I have before. I have more time to myself, and I'm kind of okay with it. Right. Because like you, I finally hit that threshold of like, that much more money right now to me is not more important than like going on a hike in the mountains for 2 hours. Like I'd rather do that. Right. So trying to find that balance is definitely difficult for me. Do you kind of suffer with that at all? Like of having fun?
Yeah,
versus
definitely.
work?
As I think it's the balance of enjoy just actually being content with your success and not wanting more sometimes is actually a really big challenge. And
so true, because the grass is always greener. It always appears greener.
But on the flip side, it is okay actually making sure you are challenging yourself in like a healthy way and doing stuff that does like give you joy. And like I think they do oversell the whole like you have to work on something that like is your life's purpose, passion, and everything, because you can kind of find passion along the way when you do something. But obviously, if you're doing something that you're actually getting less and less passionate about and you're doing fine, then it's probably worth like going into other things. If there is a way that you can step back a bit more from the business and take even more time out. Yeah. And then just experiment. It's nice to, most of my things have always been a bit full on. So I've been a bit like burnt out afterwards and just sort of needed to chill. So like year of music production and do something that's sort of purely just for you with no intention of like trying to make money even is kind of nice to just have like a mini retirement almost, I'd call it. And just sort of connect with yourself, do some different things that you don't expect anything from, and see like who you meet, what like things inspire you in different ways. And certainly talking to different people who've done different things like on here is a good one. But yeah, not jumping into things is nice. So like low commitments of like, hey, you're a mate, you're working on something really cool. Can I like come help you out for a month and do some like different stuff, just like taste things, or like idea dating. So like I said, I ran that travel business called Seekers Adventure Club. I did a few of those, and like I kind of put all the business plan together to turn it into like a full-time thing. But after doing, I think we did 4 events, and after running them, I was like, actually, in the long run, cool, this could be a big business. I can see where this is going. We've got a great brand. People really like it. In the short term, I'm going to have to be the person like plugging away, doing all these things. I'm not actually like a big drinker. I can't be dealing with people having fights over who slept with who and stuff like on these like things, because everyone goes and gets drunk. And like, I'm just not going to enjoy that. I just want to go kite surfing, and it's great that I can bring people and have fun. And it's like, I make money doing it, but actually I could just pay to go kite surfing with a few mates, and that's fine. I'd rather just do that and start a different business. And so I just tried different ideas like that to work out what were the ones I'd actually enjoy running, and sort of learning where my skills are and what I like doing. So I can be extroverted when I feel like it, but I don't like being extroverted full time. I'm an introvert. So like running a thing where I'm like supposed to be the party person was not a thing for me, kind of thing. And it's nice to do those things where you're not like, where you can just semi-commit initially and just work out if it's just really cool or not. But I don't know, maybe other things as in like Entrepreneur First, where you kind of get put into like a cohort of different people with sort of ideas and you just sort of start a tech business together and think also really fun. Or I don't know if you do have any app ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I just wrote down that you said just experiment, and you also said idea dating, like just trying out different ideas. What do you actually enjoy doing? Very wise.
Yeah, definitely. Try a few and put like a month or two into each one. And if you've got any friends that are like you that are entrepreneurial, that maybe also do that. As in, like, I had a few friends from when I was an entrepreneur, like when I was a 20-year-old, that we've always like stuck together, and we'd quite regularly sort of catch up and like pitch ideas at each other. And if one of us is passionate about it, we'd either like make them do it, or like we'd get involved and do them together. And after a while, maybe we'd stop, or maybe not. And it's nice to kind of try and have a few friends that are interested in the same things as you ish. Yeah. And see what works. And the latest one I did start with one of my friends who, he was running another side project as well as this one, but then that one took off as I was putting this one together. So he actually left. So like I lost my CTO, but like I kind of wanted to do this more than running his project, which was to do with porn and stuff. And I wasn't so keen on that. And so we went our separate ways, but we still both like kicked each other off, if you know what I mean. And so it's going to be nice. But I don't know if you have entrepreneurial friends as such, but I mean, I'm happy to like join a WhatsApp group with you just to try business ideas.
That's cool. I actually had an entrepreneurial friend. He has a note on his Apple phone, on his iPhone. And he said anytime he has an idea or anything, and I don't know if like marijuana is ever involved. He's like, a couple of these ideas have come when he's been high, but like he'll open up that app and he'll drop in all these ideas of like potential businesses, ideas for apps, anything at all. Like as ridiculous as it sounds. And that way you can talk to other entrepreneurs like, hey, are you interested in doing any of these together? Right. Yeah,
definitely. I've always kept my ideas written down somewhere, but
for sure,
having a place to talk to them with people, I think is really useful. And like, you should never keep your ideas to yourself anyway, because that's where they go to die. Nothing happens. You need to put them into the world and see what people say about them and things, and find out and not worry about them being taken. And like the whole like abundance side of things. And if you kind of treat your ideas as like a finite resource, they kind of will be. Whereas if you treat them as like, the more you share them, like the more you'll have. And if you if you flip it the other way, of like another project you could do is just like try and come up with 5 business ideas a day and share them on Twitter or something. This is a thing. And like, I guarantee in 2 months' time, the ideas you come up with will be better than the ones you come up with right now, just because you're doing it every day, kind of thing. And like, stop trying to think that like all the value you have is like the first thing you come up with. Like, it just gets better and better the more you do it. So that's another cool one to try and push yourself on if you want a project for.
No, I love that. I mean, just coming up with that creative juices every day of coming up with 5 ideas a day. I mean, if any of us try to write 5 ideas right now, it may actually be a challenge if we've never done this activity. Like, I'm trying to think of stuff and I'm like, that's already been done. That's been done. Forcing yourself to do it. Like you mentioned, when you do that, you know, the 10th day, you're going to have way better ideas than you do on the first day.
Yeah. And you come up with like different ways of doing it. And you'll think, okay, actually, maybe it's just 5 things that annoy me about like a business that already exists. Sort of like, okay, I don't like the meal kit pans that you can get because I want this like vegan only, but it's like full of protein. Okay, that's like a business idea. Or like, Amazon should deliver within 20 minutes as opposed to like within an hour. I'm going to start like a delivery service or something. Like, things like that might just be features, but there might be business ideas are also like ways. So you could probably spend 2 days just coming up with like different models of stuff that Amazon does or something.
Definitely. You could always make it better. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. You can make it faster is another quote that I've heard.
You can just make it more expensive and put a nice brand on it, which is like a ridiculous thing, but people like things that are expensive. It's a really good niche to go into.
That's true.
I should have done that more often. I've never done that, but I was
going to say my Apple Watch just let me know that it's been 45 minutes.
Cool.
So I don't want to cut you off or anything. Do you have a final takeaway or like nugget you want to share with the audience before we like switch and I jump on your show? We talked about a lot of awesome stuff. I
read
books, Thrill Seeker, Adventure Club.
One thing that it maybe won't sound so profound now, as I've just spoken about what I've been doing, and it sounds like I've got quite a cool life. But I was speaking to a friend the other day who was like, Sam, you haven't really got any problems, have you? And I was like, what the shit? I have so many problems. How do you not understand? I'm like,
you just don't complain about them.
Doing things and stuff. And yeah, I did complain a lot about them, but also, as a human, you kind of just always think that like you only compare yourself to things that are above you. So as in, I look at my podcast, but I see people that have podcasts like 10 times more successful than me, or like I've got a six pack, but I see people who are on Instagram who are like ripped to shreds and they've got like 1 million followers also. And so like everything that I kind of see is like better than my life. And yeah, like I said, I'm kind of rich. I think I'm worth about like $500,000 US. But like I read about all these entrepreneurs who are like, are millionaires or billionaires and stuff.
$10 million, so, $100 million.
Yeah, exactly. And so I kind of feel like I'm not as successful as I want to be. And like, yeah, my life is like not that amazing because of everything I've done. I did. So clearly it's doable. It's not that crazy.
Right.
And so I didn't think my life was that great, but then I was comparing it the wrong ways because like actually maybe perhaps in like a top 1% of life in terms of like how great my life is and stuff.
$500,000 is like top 1%.
yeah. And sort of like people who are my age who don't have any money and they're still just trying to work things out. And so like just dealing with jobs. And I'm like, oh wait, I haven't had a job in like my whole life. Wait, like this is pretty great. And just sort of looking at people that have other problems or people like my parents are still together. That's freaking amazing.
That is.
Like they've had their 40th wedding anniversary. Like if everything goes tits up, I can go and live with them for a bit or something. Like some people just don't have that. Like their parents might be dead or they're split up and in different places and it's awkward and stuff. And
yeah,
like just like these things that you don't even notice and you take for granted. Or like I've got an assistant he's got a baby, which is cool, but he's had like kidney stones the other day. His mum died like the week before. His wife's been back and forth to the hospital. He's just going through like the wars, and I'm just like here having a nice time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm comparing myself to the wrong people. My life's amazing. Stop being an idiot. So
right,
yeah, try and compare yourself downwards rather than upwards, or the other way around. You know what I mean? Like,
we mentioned that a few times on today's talk. Is that the grass always appears to be greener? So I love that what you just said. Compare yourself to those who have less than you as well. Not to like brag or anything, but instead of just constantly looking up at like, oh, he's more successful, she's, got more muscles or whatever, like six pack and stuff. I have like a 4-pack, so you got me beat by 2.
Nice.
See, now I might look at you and be jealous. Like, man, that guy's got a 6-pack. I only have like a 4.5-pack. Not fair, but you're right that we need to be grateful for what we have. It's all relative, things can always be better, but they can also be worse. And so gratitude is a huge one as well. And where can our listeners go to find you, to learn more about you, listen to your podcast and all that?
Sure. So the Growth Mindset podcast is under that name, or growthmindsetpodcast.com. Wiser Than Yesterday podcast is under that name, or like wiserpod.com. Cool. Then Syncify is my app for listening to podcasts with people, and you can connect with me in the app and sort of talk about my podcast or any other podcast that you like, and connect with not a lot of show hosts yet, but soon to be more. Hopefully you'll be in there, Chris.
For sure.
Sooner rather than later. Those are the main places. Like I said, I don't use social media a lot, but I do have Instagram, Sam Jam Harris. I generally post videos of me being terrible at music or climbing mountains, which doesn't happen a lot. So there's more terrible music than there is mountains, to be honest. Yeah, I think those are the main places. I've been writing my blog at Sam W. Harris, which I should be doing more of if things go to plan.
Sounds good. I will drop all those links in the show notes. And man, you should probably share a little bit more. I know you said you don't post on social media, but like people are inspired, I'm sure, by your lifestyle, what you're living. So I'd be interested to hear more about like, what do you do on a daily basis? Like, what are you doing for fun? But I know it is kind of a chore at some points. I just update my stories sometimes, and people like to know like, oh, Chris, like you just rode your bike 13 miles today, like on a Monday while I was at work. Like that's cool,
Yeah. I post a bit of like when I go for a run or something, and these things that
just anything.
People like to do a better job of like digesting some of the things that I'm thinking about or like what I'm writing about into something sort of more coherent and more like inspirational. Sure. So I'm trying to do some more short episodes like for the podcast, but like do like a 3-4 minute summary version on Instagram, that kind of stuff. But I know it's kind of time, and
maybe if you're just finding a VA who
what you like doing. Yeah, should definitely do that.
Well, Sam, this has been an awesome conversation, man. I'm jealous of your lifestyle a little bit. So,
That's funny. I mean, certainly kind of stressful, like the last month of completely changing my entire business model and then trying to like wrestle it back to what it was before, because realizing that's what I wanted to do, but my co-founders didn't. And it was like, oh God, I have no idea what I'm doing as a CEO. Do I don't. Oh God. It's a bit stress. And like the only investor we've got is like one of my mates. And I'm like, I'd rather just give him back his money right now than like make a clusterfuck of a company. And and that was worrying. Whereas, yes. Now I've solved that part ish, but
it sounds like you're working on exciting problems though that interest you. So, I mean, I know you're going to be successful and you're doing well already. So, I'm going to definitely check out Syncify and, jump on there, see how I can support and tell my other podcast friends about it. So don't worry, man.
Oh, perfect. That's great.
Awesome. Cheers. Well, thank you once again, Sam, and cheers. And I can't wait to jump here on your show in a few minutes.
Yeah. See you soon.
See you soon.